There's no rain. There hasn't been rain in 4 months. There are no pipes, no hoses, no sprinkler system, no drip line, no well within walking distance. The air is so dry it cracks your lips in minutes. The soil looks like powder. And right in the middle of all of it, a row of tomato plants so green, so alive, so impossibly full of fruit that you'd swear someone was watering them every single day. But no one is. No one has touched these plants in over a week. There's no trick photography, no hidden reservoir, no underground spring, just dirt, sun, and one buried clay pot. That's it. A clay pot that costs less than $2 is doing what billions of dollars of irrigation infrastructure was supposedly built to do, and it's doing it better. What you're looking at is called an olla, O-L-L-A. It's an unglazed clay pot, roughly the size of a bowling ball, with a narrow neck. You bury it in the ground up to its neck, fill it with water, and place a lid or a stone on top. The water doesn't spray, it doesn't drip, it doesn't evaporate. Instead, it seeps, slowly, microscopically, through the porous walls of the clay, directly into the root zone of whatever is planted around it. The plant takes exactly what it needs, nothing more, nothing less. No timer, no sensor, no computer. The clay and the soil do the thinking, and the result is water efficiency so high that engineers who study it call it almost perfect. One fill can last 5 to 7 days depending on the climate. In some setups, over 70% less water is used compared to conventional surface watering, 70%. In a world where we are told water scarcity is an unsolvable crisis, a $2 clay pot cuts consumption by more than half. Let that settle for a moment. This isn't some internet invention. This isn't the garden hack someone dreamed up last year. Ollas have been found in archaeological sites across North Africa dating back over 4,000 years. Ancient Chinese agricultural texts from the Han Dynasty, roughly 2,000 years ago, describe burying clay vessels near fruit trees to keep them alive through dry seasons. Indigenous farming communities across what is now the American Southwest used variations of this technique long before European contact. Iranian farmers in the arid plateaus near Isfahan perfected a version of it centuries ago that's still in active use today. Researchers at the University of Pretoria in South Africa have published studies confirming its effectiveness in sub-Saharan growing conditions. Engineers in Brazil's semi-arid northeast have tested ollas against drip irrigation and found comparable yields with a fraction of the infrastructure cost. This technique doesn't just have history. It has a resume that spans continents, climates, and civilizations. It is one of the most peer-reviewed low-tech farming methods on the planet. So here's the question that should be making you uncomfortable right now. If this works so well, and it's been proven for thousands of years, and it costs almost nothing, why have you never heard of it? Why isn't this taught in every agriculture class? Why isn't it on the front page of every gardening magazine? Why isn't every drought-stricken community on Earth using this right now? Because it works too well to be profitable. That's not a conspiracy. That's just economics. The global irrigation equipment market is worth over $12 billion a year. Drip systems, sprinkler heads, timers, controllers, sensors, PVC pipes, fittings, filters, pumps. Entire companies exist to sell you increasingly complex ways to move water from one place to another. An unglazed clay pot you can make with your hands from local soil threatens every single one of those product lines. You can't patent clay. You can't put a subscription service on a pot you bury in the ground. You can't sell replacement parts for something that has no parts. So instead of promoting it, the industry just pretended it didn't exist. They didn't suppress it. They didn't ban it. They did something much more effective. They simply never mentioned it. And within 2 generations, the knowledge almost disappeared. The funny thing is, you already understand how this works. You just don't know it yet. Have you ever left a terracotta pot sitting on a concrete patio and noticed the dark ring of moisture that forms underneath it? Ever watered a terracotta planter and seen the outside of it turn damp and dark within an hour? That's the same exact principle. Unglazed clay is porous. It's full of microscopic channels that water can pass through. Every terracotta pot you've ever owned has been demonstrating olla technology right in front of you. You just never thought to bury one and let the soil drink from it. That's the only difference. The physics have been on your patio your entire life. Let me break down what's actually happening at the soil level because it's beautifully simple. When you bury a water-filled olla in dry soil, there's a moisture difference between the inside of the pot and the soil outside. Water naturally moves from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration. This is basic physics. It's called a moisture gradient. The water seeps through the clay walls at a rate determined entirely by how dry the surrounding soil is. When the soil is very dry, the pull is strong and more water moves through. When the soil is moist, the pull weakens and the flow slows down. When the soil reaches equilibrium, the flow essentially stops. The pot self-regulates. No valve, no timer, no human decision. The plant's roots grow toward the moisture source and wrap around the olla, drinking exactly at the rate they need. It's a closed feedback loop created by nothing more than clay and physics. And it has zero evaporation loss because the water never touches the surface. It moves underground, root to root, molecule by molecule. Every drop counts, every drop arrives. Here's how you set one up. Get an unglazed terracotta pot, not glazed, not painted, not sealed. It has to be raw, porous clay. The classic method uses a round vessel with a narrow neck, but you can make a functional olla from 2 standard terracotta flower pots glued together at the rims with waterproof silicone, with the drainage hole of 1 sealed shut. That's your vessel. Dig a hole deep enough so that only the neck of the olla sits above the soil surface. Place it in the hole. Backfill with the same soil you removed. Now plant your crops in a circle around the olla within about 18 inches of the pot's wall. That's the effective moisture radius. Fill the olla with water through the neck. Place a flat stone, a terracotta saucer, or even a small plate over the opening to prevent mosquito breeding and reduce surface evaporation. That's it. You're done. Total cost if you're buying new pots, maybe $3 to $4. If you're using reclaimed terracotta, it's free. Refill every 5 to 7 days depending on your heat and soil type. In a moderate climate, you might go even longer. Now here's what most people get wrong, and this is the part that separates the people who rave about ollas from the people who say they didn't work. The number one mistake is using glazed or sealed pots. If the clay is glazed, the pores are closed, water can't seep through, you've just buried a bucket. It does nothing. The second mistake is planting too far from the olla. The effective moisture radius is about 12 to 18 inches depending on soil type. If your plants are 2 feet away, their roots can't reach the wet zone. Plant close. The third mistake is burying the olla too shallow. If the neck sticks up too high and most of the body is near the surface, you lose the deep root benefit and the top layer dries out as usual. Bury it so only the very top of the neck is above ground. The fourth mistake is forgetting to cover the opening. An uncovered olla becomes a mosquito breeding pool within days. A simple flat stone solves this completely. And the fifth mistake, and this is the one that kills most people's enthusiasm, is expecting instant results. Ollas don't work like a hose. You won't see wet soil on the surface. The moisture is below, where the roots are. Trust the process. Check the plant health after a week, not the dirt appearance after an hour. The results from people who do this correctly are staggering. In arid test plots in Burkina Faso, olla irrigated gardens produced comparable vegetable yields to drip irrigated plots while using up to 80% less water. Home gardeners in Arizona and New Mexico report cutting their water bills in half during summer months. Community gardens in northern Brazil have used ollas to grow food on land that was previously considered too dry for cultivation. And the scaling works too. 1 olla waters a small cluster of plants. 10 ollas water a serious garden. 100 ollas water a small farm. In parts of rural India, entire cooperative farms have been established using nothing but buried clay pots and collected rainwater. The technology doesn't hit a ceiling. It multiplies. And because each pot is independent, there's no single point of failure. One breaks, the others keep working. No pump dies and kills your whole field overnight. Some people ask whether the clay contaminates the water or the soil. It doesn't. Unglazed terracotta is just fired earth. It's one of the most inert, food-safe materials humans have ever used. People have been storing water and food in clay vessels since before written language. If anything, the slow release of trace minerals from natural clay can be mildly beneficial to soil biology. Others worry about the pots cracking in freezing temperatures. That's a legitimate concern. In cold climates, you pull your ollas out before the first hard freeze, just like you'd winterize any garden infrastructure. Store them dry and they'll last for years. Some Amish and Mennonite communities in the north